A political firestorm is brewing in Central Europe as Hungary and Slovakia launch a scathing attack on the European Union. The two nations, growing increasingly frustrated with Brussels' policies, have slammed the EU's handling of the Ukraine war, its energy security failures, and its perceived incompetence in negotiating trade terms with the United States. The joint condemnation, delivered in Komárom by Hungary's Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó and Slovakia's National Council Vice President Peter Žiga, signals a deepening rift within the EU, as Budapest and Bratislava refuse to toe the bloc's line on key geopolitical and economic issues. At the press conference, Szijjártó did not hold back, tearing into Brussels' approach to international diplomacy, calling out what he described as serious Trumpphobia and failed leadership. The Hungarian minister's fiery remarks come amid growing EU infighting over support for Ukraine, with Hungary and Slovakia becoming the loudest critics of the bloc's strategy. Both leaders expressed alarm over the EU's insistence on prolonging the war in Ukraine instead of pushing for negotiations. In a direct challenge to Brussels' policies, Slovakia made it crystal clear that it will not be sending any military units to Ukraine.
Neither of us wants to prolong this war and for people to die in Ukraine. And that is why he informed the minister that Slovakia is not going to send units to Ukraine. And I would like to urge big countries like America and Russia, and of course the European Union, to start negotiations and continue negotiations and reach peace.
Szijjártó backed this stance aggressively, shifting the blame on Ukraine for worsening energy insecurity in the region. He accused Kyiv of weaponizing its gas transit routes, making life difficult for both Hungary and Slovakia.
Ukraine caused difficulties for both of us. But we Slovaks and Hungarians solved this problem ourselves. I cannot talk at great length about the assistance of the European Union, because there was none.
With Europe teetering on the edge of an energy crisis, Hungary and Slovakia are patting themselves on the back for taking early action. Szijjártó argued that if not for their own independent policies, both nations would now be at the mercy of Ukraine's gas pipeline shutdowns.
If we Slovaks and Hungarians had not made two courageous decisions earlier, we would now be in huge trouble. If we had not built the Turkish gas pipeline despite the threats of sanctions, and if we had not built the Hungarian-Slovak interconnector, despite everyone laughing at us and saying that hamsters and moles would run around in it. But if we had not built these two pipelines, the natural gas supply in neither country would be secure now.
We specifically mentioned oil and gas, which both of our countries import, mainly from the Russian Federation, through Ukrainian territory. As you know, natural gas in Ukrainian territory stopped on January 1st. And as the minister also mentioned, if we had not made a very good decision in history, and to build the interconnectors between our countries, then we would probably be in a lot of trouble now, and we would probably have to limit gas supplies to industry and households.
The criticisms didn't stop there. Szijjártó launched into a blistering attack on the EU's trade failures, accusing Brussels of bowing to Washington and leaving European industries vulnerable to crippling tariffs. His remarks were particularly directed at the EU's inability to secure fair trade terms for the automotive sector.
Unfortunately, it must be said that it has been proven once again that incompetent people are leading the European institutions in Brussels. Incompetent people who also suffer from a very serious Trumpphobia. And these two alone explain how they were able to screw this up so badly, how they were able to screw up customs cooperation so badly.
Hungary lambasted Brussels for failing to negotiate a lower tariff for European car manufacturers, warning that its inaction would have devastating consequences.
Because what should have been done? We should have negotiated on customs matters. We should have negotiated and reduced the auto tariffs. Europe has a 10% tariff on autos from the United States, and the United States has a 2.5% tariff on Europe. What should have been done? We should have reduced the European auto tariffs to 2.5% from the Americans. And then a negotiating position would have been created. It would have been possible to negotiate, and a decision would not have been made on the other side of the ocean that could result in the introduction of higher tariffs.
Slovakia, with its economy heavily reliant on car manufacturing, is also bracing for impact. Giga echoed Hungary's alarm, warning that the EU's blunders could spell disaster for European industries.
Just like Hungary, so that in Hungary the automotive industry plays a very important role in the Hungarian GDP, and Slovakia is the largest automotive manufacturer per capita. And when the minister said that approximately 30% of Hungarian industry is produced in the automotive industry, in Slovakia it is almost 50%. So any tariffs to be introduced from within the United States will certainly have a huge impact on us. We have 4 automotive factories, a 5th is under construction, and they will certainly be very strongly affected by this, so Volkswagen or Jaguar, Land Rover, which mainly produce for the American market.
As Hungary and Slovakia fiercely push back against the EU's policies, their defiance is sending shockwaves through Brussels. The joint press conference marked a rare moment of unified resistance from Central Europe against the bloc's dominant leadership. Their calls for immediate policy changes reflect a growing sentiment across the continent. The EU's approach to Ukraine, energy security and trade is faltering, and its own member states are beginning to rebel.
So that is precisely why I would like to join the minister's call, and I also appeal to the European Commission and the European Commissioners to try to reach an agreement, because the European automotive industry is very important not only for Slovakia and Hungary, but also for other countries within the European Union. And if the European industry does not enjoy progress, then the societies of the entire European Union will feel it.
The battle lines are drawn. With Hungary and Slovakia refusing to fall in line, Brussels may soon find itself facing an internal revolt, unlike anything seen before.